Stop right there if you're over 70 and still driving in Australia, because in just 6 days from now, everything is about to change. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this could be the difference between keeping your independence or losing your right to drive. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every single word of what I'm about to tell you. If this sounds important to you, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss crucial information like this. What's coming on November 12, 2025 is going to affect roughly 3.5 million senior drivers across Australia. And the shocking part is that so many people have absolutely no idea this is coming their way. This isn't some minor administrative change or a simple form you need to fill out. This is a complete overhaul of how Australia treats drivers over 70. And depending on your situation, it could either be a minor inconvenience or a life-changing event that affects everything from how you get your groceries to how you visit your grandkids. Here's where things get really interesting. And I need you to pay close attention, because the devil is truly in the details with these new regulations. Starting November 12, every single Australian who turns 70 will now be required to prove they are still capable of driving safely every 2 years instead of every 3 years. And we are not talking about just renewing your license online, or popping into Service NSW, or Transport Queensland for a quick eye test. We are talking about comprehensive medical assessments that dig deep into your physical and cognitive health, examining everything from how well you can see and hear to how fast you can react in dangerous situations. Your GP is going to evaluate your mental sharpness, your coordination, your ability to process information quickly, and basically determine whether you're still safe behind the wheel or whether you've become a risk to yourself and everyone else on the road. But wait, because it gets even more intense. Once you hit 75, you're not just dealing with medical assessments anymore. You're now required to take an actual practical, on-road driving test every 2 years, just like when you were a teenager learning to drive for the first time. You've been driving for 50, 60, maybe even 70 years without a single accident, and suddenly you're being told you need to prove yourself all over again by having a stranger sit in your passenger seat with a clipboard, watching and judging every move you make as you navigate through traffic, merge onto the motorway, handle roundabouts, and deal with all the complexities of modern road conditions. Now let's talk about something that's making a lot of seniors absolutely ropeable, and I completely understand why. These assessments aren't free, not even close. The medical assessment alone will typically cost you anywhere from $150 to $300 depending on how thorough your GP needs to be. And here's the kicker: Medicare doesn't cover a single cent of this expense. Then, if you're 75 or older, you need to add another $200 to $400 for the practical driving assessment, which means some seniors could be looking at $600 to $700 every 2 years just to maintain their right to drive. For pensioners living on fixed incomes, watching every dollar they spend, trying to afford medications and rising cost of living expenses, this is a massive financial burden. But here's where the situation becomes even more complicated and frankly quite worrying for many older Australians. What happens if you don't pass these assessments? Well, your doctor might decide you can only drive during daylight hours, or only within a certain radius from your home, or only on roads with speed limits below 80 kilometers per hour. And these restrictions will be printed right there on your license for everyone to see. If you're caught driving outside these restrictions, you're facing serious consequences including hefty fines, demerit points, and if you're involved in an accident while breaking these rules, you could be looking at criminal charges, and your insurance company will almost certainly refuse to cover any damages. The alternative outcome is even worse. Your doctor or the driving assessor could determine you're simply not safe to drive at all anymore, and just like that, your license is gone, your independence is stripped away, and your entire lifestyle has to change dramatically. Think about what losing your license actually means in practical terms, especially if you live in the suburbs or out in regional areas like Bendigo, Toowoomba, or Wagga Wagga where public transport is limited or virtually non-existent. You can't drive yourself to the doctor anymore, you can't pop down to Woolies or Coles when you need milk or bread, you can't visit your mates who live across town, and you're suddenly dependent on family members who have their own busy lives, or on expensive taxes, or on inadequate public transport systems. The government reckons they are preparing for this by improving public transport and community services for seniors. And they are talking about expanded volunteer driver programs and subsidized taxi schemes and door-to-door community buses. But let's be honest here, if you live outside major metropolitan areas, these promises often don't materialize into real, practical solutions. There's a massive gap between what politicians promise and what actually exists on the ground in regional and rural areas. So what should you be doing right now if you're affected by these changes? First, book an appointment with your GP immediately and have an honest conversation about the upcoming requirements and whether there are any health issues you should be addressing now before your formal assessment. Second, start budgeting for these costs because they are coming whether you like it or not. Maybe start putting aside $50 or $60 a month so you're not hit with a massive bill all at once. Third, make sure all your medical needs are current, your glasses prescription is up to date, your hearing has been checked recently, and you're managing any chronic conditions as well as possible because this can all affect your driving ability. And finally, start having realistic conversations with your family about backup plans for transportation if the worst happens and you don't pass the assessments. Talk to your kids or grandkids about who might be available to help with regular appointments. Look into what public transport options exist in your area. Check with your local council about community transport services for seniors. And find out if organizations like National Seniors Australia or CODA have any support programs in your region. The reality is that these changes are happening whether we agree with them or not. And the best thing you can do is be informed and prepared so you're not caught out by surprise when your renewal date comes around.